Hello, this is Hethetheth with part 3 of Making a Dark Ride. Today, I'm going to look at walls and basic scenery. Okay, some of you may have noticed I do certain things with my scenery, certain things that I'll always do. And the first thing I'm going to tell you now is download NYR's concrete walls and Moby's steelworx, for these are the backbone of any decent dark ride setup for me. In general, what I will do, once I've made the track, is I will line it with basic walls, which will then be filled in with scenery for ride events. Okay, have a look at this piece of scenery. What is it? If you said it's supports, you are wrong. Scenery can be used for anything. This is a principle I learned when trying to use non-CS techniques. No matter what it is, if it looks like something, it can be it. Steelworx can be a wall, it can be a crane, it could be a gun, it can be whatever you want it to be. Do not just look at scenery and think that it is something just because that's what it's designed for. Use it for anything. Mix and match everything. Put scenery together, layer it together, overlap them, put anything anywhere. Do not ever be limited by the fact that someone has told you this is what the scenery is for. Make it what you want it to be. Mix everything together. It will always create a brilliant layering effect. For sci-fi rides, for example, I always make sure to put in lots of hangar scenery, concrete walls, steelworx, random bars, random fences, anything. Just build them up, them, layer upon layer. This is the key element on how to make the decent wall structure for a ride. As you can see in many of my sci-fi dark rides, for background elements I will use NYR's concrete walls and steelworx and build up a framework. These basic walls are quite simple, they're quite basic, but when everything else is filled in and when they're lit up correctly, you'll find that they can fill in any blank spaces. Blank spaces are something you really want to avoid when you're doing scenery. For some rides, of course, such as any temple-based rides, you can generally download the correct scenery anyway, but even so, you need to make sure to layer these with lots and lots of things. Just having a flat wall is of no interest to anyone. Make sure to have lots of twists and turns. Make things go in and out. Put on vines, put on anything you want. Another example I can think of here is Journey to the Centre of the Earth. With the concrete walls, you need to make sure you can vary them. For one, I used 2 different types of stone and rockwork walls, and these I mixed and matched and alternated, lit up in different ways, which I will get onto later in my lighting tutorial. You need to make sure that these are all muddled up as much as possible to make sure that everything looks random. Of course, with sci-fi rides, random isn't necessarily the right thing, but if you're going fast enough past some of these things, you will never notice them. One of the tricks I generally find works is using billboards for large backdrops. If you're fairly good at things like Photoshop or a picture editing software, you can edit in larger backdrops onto massive billboards, which you can download in many places. MGP is a good person to get these from. You can fill in large sky scenes by editing some clouds and putting them in, which is what I did with Around the World in 80 Days. With a sci-fi scene, you could make a giant sci-fi backdrop, which works quite well, and Journey to the Centre of the Earth used that as well in the large lake scene with all the monsters. If you look in the backdrop, that is just 2 giant billboards put together in the background and lit up the right way.